Hello everyone, you are listening to the Video at Growth version, a channel that shares the essential lessons learned from good books. Today I would like to introduce to everyone the book Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life by the author Jordan B. Peterson. He is a Canadian clinical psychologist, one of the most influential public thinkers in the West today, and also an honorary professor at the University of Toronto. This book is the sequel to the famous book that was the world's top 1 bestseller before, called 12 Rules for Life, written from the depressive events of his life. But the misfortune of his life after that did not stop there. When his daughter's surgery and his wife's repeated bouts of cancer once again caused his depression to return and worsen, but this time, instead of focusing on how to control the chaos in life according to the rules of life, he took one step into the chaos to learn how to adapt to unexpected events before finally being able to find the lighthouse in the chaos and confusion of life's storms and write this next book. This book, when released in 2021, quickly became a bestseller, a New York Times and Amazon bestseller, translated into over 30 languages. The truth is that no matter where you were born, in what era, after thousands of years of evolution, we humans must experience happiness, and suffering is the same. The suffering of birth, aging, sickness, and death is always the same. Disasters and adversities, no matter how many changes, can only be reduced to the same amount of hardships in human life. Instead of finding all kinds of reasons to justify your misfortune, try to blame someone for your failed life, blame everyone else for your unhappiness, the result will still not change. If you run out with your pain like that, this book is for you, as it tells you that it's time to go back and take responsibility for yourself. Self-improvement and self-development, cultivate your mind and character. Then you will know how to proactively face the chaos of life, live in more harmony with the uncertainty and pressure of life. What should you do when facing adversity? What should you do to easily overcome it while still maintaining gratitude for life? We invite you to listen to the content shared through the book Beyond Order, 12 More Rules for Life. Don't complain about social institutions that we rely on to develop creativity. When humans have strong social habits, we need each other because of the need to cooperate, not only for survival, but also need to communicate to keep order, and order in our minds, and the need to bond together to overcome life's difficulties, to maintain our mental health, while developing inner values that help us find meaning. In life, without community, loneliness will make people wither, psychologically collapse, and lose direction in life. Psychological studies have completely proven this. It is true, and even the author's psychotherapy patients embody this truth. As their connection to the surrounding community is improved and expanded, all their psychological problems are improved and the quality of life changes completely positively. Therefore, valuing social integration and the importance of relationships is of utmost importance to anyone if you want to live a positive life. However, social interactions always contain many worries and dissatisfactions that give rise to various chaos, and that is why social institutions also begin to form legal regulations that define important values of regulations, rewards, and punishments, etc. These were established and were seen as the embodiment of sanity, meaning that these social institutions would not only serve to maintain the essential order of human society, but also help us to arrange and organize our own minds, so that from the moment we become aware, we will not be overwhelmed by the chaos of the natural world. This stability also creates conditions for creativity and development of each individual to contribute to the social institution, to help it improve and function better, to meet the needs from physiology to psychology such as food, drink, shelter, entertainment, etc., the better for each individual in the whole society. And of course each individual has differences in their own ability to contribute to society, so a hierarchy is necessary for the stability of order. Social order is best maintained and also developed better. Decentralization also encourages human competition, promotes personal capacity, strongly promotes creativity, and brings many contributions to serve society, the benefits of the community. However, the natural world, or ourselves, still always has flaws. The social system also cannot avoid its negative side. For example, when people in power have the right to abuse that power for personal gain, to exploit the wealth of society, corruption or backdoor regimes that always exist, or conservatism due to the fear of losing the power of those in power, leads to the neglect of creative ideas of others that bring more value to society, or inequality when rigid hierarchies do not allow subordinates the opportunity to be promoted. If you are a selfish, short-sighted autocrat, you may have a contemptuous attitude towards newcomers who do not listen to your opinions, and that same arrogance can also prevent you from learning. Those who have a certain influence on the development of our society must have witnessed and experienced at least one such inappropriate situation in their lives, and sometimes cannot help but feel moved. But we need to understand that we cannot let one bad apple spoil the barrel, giving rise to prejudice against social institutions, with an ungrateful attitude of mocking the achievements of social construction in the past, and in the present we see the dark side of the social system. But of course, we need to look at the bright side of the social system where we live. In the book, the author tells about a patient, T, with a bleak future. Before graduating, the common person has no close friends, who are passionate about biology, but he likes to indulge in his loneliness by lying in bed all day, taking care of pets as his motivation to live. Finally, the strange thing is when mentioning politics, she is extremely upset by the negative consequences that the world is causing to the environment. This is good, but the problem lies in the fact that this girl is in her 20s and has no thoughts, any positive thoughts in life. Even not wanting to leave your bed every day. Is that global problem just an illusionary cloak of nobility essentially covering up the laziness? Discipline when refusing to face the difficulties of life, will not simply say that we need to learn to crawl before learning to walk, and learn to walk before learning to run. When we are not yet able to try hard to face the difficulties of life, by being responsible for yourself, all the expressions of dissatisfaction, criticism, and thoughtless condemnation of any regime in society are just excuses, justifying ourselves as lazy and unwilling to try. The question here is how we should live in a society that is guaranteed by its order, but at the same time is full of injustice. The author's answer to the dilemmas and problems we face is that we need to accept a moderate level of rules that are necessary to keep society in order and promote human solidarity. Along with that, a healthy dose of creativity and rebellion is needed to keep society constantly innovating. Follow the rules of society until you become a shining symbol of its values that the rules represent, but break them when they become an obstacle to higher qualities, or if they go against the goals for which they are intended. Dare to act against what is considered moral. Before you criticize or condemn any system, go back and change yourself first. Don't just blame those in power, because without this system you would not have the safety and security you need now, and would be in a state of chaos, so do your part and contribute positively. A new community can contribute to solving the remaining dark sides of the social system. The second principle is to imagine and become the person you want to be. Not only the author, but also many psychologists and famous spiritual masters have stated that each of us has great potential within ourselves. But for most of us, this potential is often overshadowed by many factors such as unhappiness, age, and poetry, tragedy, life, poor health, etc. But don't forget that the eye can also be clouded by hesitation, procrastination, lack of faith, discipline, and commitment. So we have closed the door of opportunity that life has. The great philosopher Socrates once said that, all human learning is a different form of memorizing spiritual knowledge. Wisdom is accumulated through the long evolution of our ancestors, and it is only through life experiences that we are reminded of the deep knowledge in our consciousness, that awakens our hidden potential that has been forgotten. The author says that, dormant in each of us is an adventurer, a leader, a talented artist, or a rebel, but only when you look at the characters in literary works, artistic works, and inspirational stories. Only by being inspired by someone or some book in the history of mankind can we discover traces of those people in ourselves, and from there can enlighten us both the morality and the costs, what we should aim for and who we can become. And the author also added that you can't choose what you love, but it will choose you. But your potential will not be able to touch your soul if you yourself are not ready to face the fear of uncertainty, not ready to overcome your own procrastination, not ready for the challenges in life, not willing to take responsibility for the thorns ahead. You will never be able to find the deepest point in your soul that leads you to your own destiny. Like Santiago in the book The Alchemist instead of burying his life with the arrangement in order to bring stability and comfort from his parents, he boldly embarked on the adventure of his life, a dangerous, but also exciting journey that would eventually discover that on the path of pursuing a certain goal, the greatest thing we have is alchemy, ultimately a transformation in our perception of the world and our inner soul, not external success and wealth. You will find that in life, when you dare to love, dare to pursue someone, whether successful or failed, you will change and become more mature after those experiences. When you put less emphasis on your passion, even though the path is difficult, full of stumbling blocks and failures, those experiences also bring deep meaning when we train ourselves to have a more valuable personality, a more stable inner self. During that journey, you need to know that the goal of our life is not just a destination, but a journey to overcome fear and psychological barriers to discover ourselves. If you do not have any goals in life to aim for, life will drift in vain. You may also lose your sense of direction, and you may also lose your positive emotions because of the overwhelming clutter of untapped potential and unexamined options, coupled with the lack of drive towards a hope in life. It is just a series of long days drifting uncertainly in boredom. So, first, imagine the person you want to become, the best version of yourself, and most suitable for you in the present. Then create a meaningful goal for your life, and be willing to fight towards it. Make sure that the goal you are aiming for is noble and meaningful enough. To have a goal in life, you will be able to act with focus and efficiency. But it is important that you clearly understand your own past so as not to repeat old mistakes and not to follow in the footsteps of the past. You need to understand the present to know how far you are from your goal, understand the future to not drown in chaotic uncertainty, and to nurture inspiration and hope for good things to come. That is the map we need to have in life, and be ready to bravely face past mistakes to correct them, be ready to give up old habits and lifestyles to suit your goals. If you want to move forward, be ready to face anything that may come your way, persevere in moving forward day by day. Success may not come immediately but appear after a long series of efforts and failures, up and then fall down. And sometimes, it also helps you realize that you need to change your goals after too many falls. Success is sometimes giving up at the right time instead of blind perseverance, and to be able to have success, to be so clear-headed, you need to understand rule number 3, don't run away from the darkness within yourself. The author has a patient who is successful in his job and is loved and respected by everyone, but not feeling happy. After getting to know the author, he discovered the root of all problems lies in her marriage. Her husband is a selfish person who likes to save face in front of the world, so he always becomes a slave to her will. Everyone except her had an opinion that the furniture in the house and the art collections were all decided by her elderly husband alone. That made her feel lost and out of place in the space. She never invites friends home to play, but the problem is that even though she doesn't like her husband's elaborate lifestyle, as a partner, she never speaks her mind frankly and resolutely. She never threw away any of her husband's hateful things to show her hidden frustration, because she did not like the feeling of anger, so year after year, she chose to stay silent and ignore to avoid any trouble that may arise, confusion, so that it just keeps piling up, eventually making her feel like she is being squeezed too much, feel like she is being deprived of the opportunity to enjoy life. So it's a pity that this marriage finally ended after 30 years of unhappy living together. They wasted 30 years of their lives just because of small things hidden behind the fog, not daring to say anything. Looking back at our lives, we probably have somewhere a lot of things and habits of our partners and relatives that can become weapons of destruction for the relationship between the two of us if we keep hiding them behind a long curtain of fog. The problem is not that we disagree with each other in terms of needs, preferences, personalities, or habits, but that we never dare to face and speak up about the discomfort and confusion within ourselves. We ignore and convince ourselves to compromise with small dissatisfactions in our hearts, such as sharing housework, financial problems, or emotional problems, work, etc., and then pretend that everything is fine. But it's just a false peace. If you keep harboring dissatisfaction and unrest that needs to be resolved, it's like you're harboring garbage in your mind. One day, the door of your life will surely burst open and the dark things inside will spill out and bury you and your own relationships. And within each of us, perhaps there are also problems to face, like habits. Although small but harmful, undisciplined procrastination at work does not leave immediate consequences, but in the long run will erode the future. Like in the book *The Kaizen Way*, it also stated that ignoring small problems will cause them to accumulate into bigger problems, causing stress, crises, and unnecessary failures. Author Adam Grant also stated that we often procrastinate with the problems that need to be solved are not actually related to discipline or time management skills, but rather to our emotional management skills. So, be brave enough to face the dark corners of life. Yourself can be the darkness of fear when you dare not express negative emotions for fear of losing the relationship, the darkness of feeling tired of having to overcome the uncomfortable feeling of not being able to postpone, the darkness of shameful mistakes from the past, etc. Face and burn all the unpleasant feelings with the light of wisdom within you, and you will see what you need most. The good way. The fourth rule is, opportunity lies in the place where responsibility is denied. It is a fact that people often feel sad and regretful about what they didn't try, more than regretful and sad about the mistakes they made. Look at our lives, how many times have we regretted missing opportunities for development? Just because we live too aimlessly and passively, the habit of wanting immediate pleasure has only held back our efforts to strive for the future. And the fear of failure is so great inside us that we create all kinds of excuses to avoid responsibility for one's own development and growth. And then those regrets turn into miserable despair when one reaches the age of 30 or 40. The author said that the opportunity is always hidden in the responsibilities you want to deny, and it is even hidden in the responsibilities that others deny. When you boldly take on difficult responsibilities that few people dare to take on, that not only helps you solve practical concerns in life better, but also gives you a more meaningful life, to help the world become a better place. So wake up from your long-standing indecision and passivity. Ask yourself, am I rejecting any responsibility that could actually be an opportunity to change my own life, whether in work, family, or society? Get out of your inner fear of failure to realize that take on responsibilities that most people refuse to take on. Always work hard, be willing to learn more, teach earlier, come home later, put in more effort and dedication, and maintain a balance between work, family, and life. Rule number 5, don't do things you hate. The author gives advice to never do anything that you feel goes against your core values. It requires you to identify clearly what things you hate that conflict with your inner values. For example, the job you are doing makes you feel constantly frustrated or seems to be destroying yourself, your motivation to grow, or that job cannot help you wake up every morning with a smile, or it makes you compromise with actions that go against your own moral conscience, even if it is just a small action, or your work environment has too much toxicity from colleagues or superiors. If every day just makes you slowly die, but please note, to make sure that all the above negative, if it is not because of your ingratitude, arrogance, or your irresponsible, lazy, and lawless behavior, then do not hesitate to apply for another job, and be ready to improve all the skills needed to fit the goals of the new job. There is nothing more regrettable than a series of days living in betrayal of oneself. One's own value can only be achieved by living with the most unified self that can get you through the storms of life and reap the rewards of fulfillment. Then the sixth rule is to let go of prejudice. Our world is too big, and humans are too small to fully understand reality. Not everything in life can always be explained by a single ideology, so don't let yourself get caught up in any prejudice and blindly obey it. Like inequality, men and women in this struggle, suddenly all men are given a stereotype that creates inequality and are the subject of unreasonable attacks. While the truth cannot be equated like that, it only obscures opportunities to work together to address inequality, or those in power, if they are labeled with prejudices that create injustice and suffering for many. Is it a blind hatred to only look at the negative aspects, but ignore the positive aspects in life? The fact that we cling to a certain ideology of our own has inadvertently made us full of prejudice when communicating and dealing with others. How many people are kind when they do that job? Are they rich or arrogant and unapproachable, even prejudiced against themselves? At my age, how can I study anymore? That's very difficult for me, how can it be done? And so on and so forth, the inherent prejudices we attach to ourselves, and they will surely become self-fulfilling prophecies that always close off your own life. American writer Maya Angelou once wrote that, prejudice is a heavy burden that clouds the past, threatens the future, and makes the present inaccessible. So, don't look at yourself and the world through the eyes of any ideology. Let go of those invisible prejudices that you unconsciously cling to. You need to be looked at and corrected first. Reflect on the bad things and flaws in your soul to repair and transform them instead of nitpicking and finding flaws in them. Others criticize the world. Keep humble. Clean your own house before criticizing society. Take care of your family and cultivate family happiness. Find useful and interesting things to persistently pursue. When you are successful, then you can proactively seek and solve bigger problems. But most importantly, you must start by letting go of prejudice. Remember that it's never too late to give up your prejudices. Next, we come to rule number 7, do your best in everything. We all know that when coal is heated at high temperature and a certain pressure, it will arrange itself into a perfect crystal, that is diamond. The transformability of coal is our potential, temperature and pressure is wholeheartedly doing our best, and diamond is the results we get. But unfortunately, most of us, in the smallest things, can hardly give ourselves wholeheartedly. We want to lose weight and get in shape, but just like to lie on the couch snacking and lamenting about our weight. We are constantly dragged by desires to waste time while working, but still not willing to take steps to change. Within you there are too many desires, wanting to always live in conflict. Desires with each other. In the end, when you do anything, but the spirit is constantly fragmented, it's like a house that is cut off. How can we stand firm against the storm? What we need is a spirit of unity, and unity can only be achieved when you have a clear, unified goal, and a commitment to the end. Otherwise, you will always be in a state of disorientation and mental chaos, which always makes you overreact or run away when you fail. In the end, helplessness and depression will drag you into a meaningless life. The most important thing is that the author wants to remind us throughout the book that you need to have a life goal. If you have no place to go, nothing to do, and can't find value in your life, you will be crushed by everything. Choose for yourself a goal that is best within your current ability to aim for and commit to completing it, such as a goal about personality, love, friendship, or career, etc., any commitment. Everything is associated with sweat and tears, and the most important thing to be wholehearted is discipline. Discipline is not oppression or harsh coercion, but it is proactive self-awareness that helps you easily face difficulties, discover your own abilities, and focus on persistently moving forward in your own goals. Live wholeheartedly, always do your best, even in small things, because in the end you will succeed. It turns out that how you do the little things is how you will do the big things in life. Like Swami Sivananda, the famous spiritualist once said, "Put your whole mind, body, and soul into it. Even the smallest actions are the secret of success." Next is rule number 8, keep your room clean. I remember a saying by Krishnamurti that, "There is no singing, in the heart of life, is just a series of dark days." Indeed, human life is too short, suffering, and tragedy are always lurking at any crossroads. We live not only on bread to get by, but also on beauty. We need literature and art to awaken the strength of the soul, then the connection established with what is beyond the mundane human being will become a lifebuoy when drifting in the midst of many difficulties. Carrying beauty will help you lean towards life and be grateful for adversity instead of being dragged into the abyss of negativity by adversity. The author said that if you ever let something, when something in your life becomes beautiful, you have established a connection with beauty and can then continue to extend that connection to all other aspects of your life as well. The world around you is the sacred call of life that you may have lost in your busy life, so the simplest, easiest, and most practical thing you can do to help you reach that beautiful is always clean and decorate your own room beautifully. You will begin to open your heart to the pristine beauty of the world which has been affected by your own maturity. I oversimplify into a dull survival. So being constantly exposed to the beauty of this life can often remind you to return to the beautiful and meaningful purpose of life, love, gratitude, hope, and virtue. Rule number 9, be careful to write down the painful memories you still carry. The author has a 27-year-old female patient who was abused, sexually assaulted by her cousin when she was only 4 years old. When telling the past under the description of the enemy, the author imagined a tall, strong man attacking her like a vicious and brutal monster. But what was the surprise here, is that the monster turned out to be only a child at that time, just a year older, not much different from her. But it was the exaggeration of the obsessions in her mind when she was 4 that grew up with her. She made that memory become a shadow so big that she couldn't overcome it. If the memory was updated, those obsessions would now be just a game, the childishness that she could gently accept and leave behind. Many of the author's other patients, and perhaps even ourselves, always have memories that evoke fears and anxieties, haunted by shame complexes. Every time you think about this, it is actually just a defense mechanism of human instinct. It wants to remind you never to repeat those mistakes again, and to avoid things that other people can do that can bring similar pain. But we try to push that darkness away, to forget it, and then it struggles like a monster locked in a closed cellar for many years. As psychologist Sigmund Freud once wrote, the emotions in unexpressed memories never go away, they are buried and later appear in uglier ways, possibly as chronic mental and physical illnesses or symptoms, unexplainable physical abnormalities, etc. Only when you integrate yourself with the dark parts inside you, instead of trying to lock it away in a corner of your mind, then only you can free and heal yourself. So, the best way now is to carefully write down the ugly memories that you have buried and hidden all this time, even though it does not provide you with concrete solutions to the problems in your current life, but surely a deep understanding of yourself will come from here. You can reconcile with yourself and not let old memories torment you. At the same time, avoid the repetition of negative things in the future. When you understand your current self, it is also an opportunity for you to mature more. About rewriting the past, you can refer to the book *Homecoming Star. There are detailed instructions that I have also introduced. Next is rule number 10. A happy marriage requires a lot of effort. A lasting and happy marriage over time does not simply rely on romantic feelings. It is natural at the beginning, but it needs to be consciously nurtured with efforts, trust, and commitment to the end. Trust is essential in marriage, but not the only thing. Naive trust, coupled with blind expectation that your partner will remain faithful. An adult's trust is unconditional trust, that is, to trust but still courageously accept the worst possible outcome. In marriage, it takes harmony from two different bodies, and to have harmony, you have to be honest with each other, to establish a solid foundation for the functioning of the family. For example, whose career should be prioritized, who will be in charge of taking care of or educating the children, who will be in charge of the finances of the two people, how to spend and save, etc. We will inevitably have conflicts. Conflicts arising in that unification need to be carefully negotiated because all of those things will follow us throughout the decades of marriage. We cannot turn a blind eye to them, and then nurture dissatisfaction and explode into conflicts. When the conflict is too much to bear, the author advises that the secret to a successful marriage always lies in the fact that both parties can talk about everything, even the most difficult things. So couples should spend at least 90 minutes a week talking and sharing about everything and your desires for the other person. Learn to clearly state your needs instead of talking about your intentions or expressing your attitude. Always want the other person to understand about effective communication. You really need to refer to the book *Nonviolent Communication* that I have also introduced. Besides, don't forget to nurture the romance in your romantic marriage. Romance is like a game that you need to put in the effort to maintain it. Don't let the basic needs of life and worries overwhelm the romance needed in a marriage relationship. No beautiful love exists by itself, exists without effort poured into it. It is a fire that both must constantly edward to maintain throughout. The path of marriage will have many hardships, harshness, and challenges of life that both of you have to face up to the ups and downs. Never have the illusion that an extramarital affair will help you solve your shortcomings and relieve the negativity in your heart. It will cost you with different consequences that will make you and your partner, and most importantly your children, suffer from regretful injuries surrounding this issue. The author also has words of advice for young people who want to live together. Please consider carefully. Because if you want to live together to see if you and that person are compatible before considering marriage, this is no different than a commitment to propose a job, abandoning the other person when there is a better choice in the future, and statistics have also proven that couples who live together before marriage have a higher rate of separation. Even when they are married, their divorce rate is also higher than those who do not live together. In addition, the author affirmed that a fulfilling life cannot be without a complete marriage with children and grandchildren. You may experience many difficulties and sufferings in life in that process, but the value it brings is incomparable, and without marriage you will feel like you have never lived. Marriage helps you mature a lot when learning how to get along and keep peace in the family. Especially when you have children, it is like a mirror that you are forced to look into to see your own flaws and weaknesses, and change. The famous psychologist Adler also said these things: people who avoid marriage and childbearing are actually people who have problems getting along with others. In their 20s, with somewhat superficial doubts about life, one may declare that they do not want to get married, do not want to have children, but when reaching the threshold of 30, that number is still relatively small, and when reaching middle age, they cannot tell their true feelings anymore, because everything is too difficult to make a different decision. So before it is too late to regret, don't let marriage and everything related to it become your obsession. Just be brave to love, boldly move forward, and be ready to experience the intense emotions, as well as the hurt that love brings. The more love you give, the more interesting and worthwhile your life will be. Next is rule number 11, don't let lies and arrogance rule your life. Resentment, lies, and arrogance do not appear randomly, but often come from the many uncertainties of life, from an unjust society, and unfortunate circumstances with no right to choose. However, when growing up with full awareness, we all understand that life is a chain of cause and effect, and in one way or another, every manifestation does not have any injustice in it, and you can completely deal with it, face life, and create a better life for yourself. So, if you find resentment, lies, and arrogance in yourself, it is a sign that you need to seriously reconsider who you are. First of all, have the courage to face your difficult emotions and take responsibility for your actions. Resentment can be soothed when you are willing to take responsibility for all your actions and results. Lying will have no place if you are willing to be honest not only with others, but more importantly with yourself. Remember that the habit of lying is addictive to your brain. If you do not pay attention, you will be controlled by this addictive mechanism, and at times you will no longer be aware of your own truth and lies. In the end, arrogance will be defeated if we maintain mindfulness. Be humble. Recognize your own limitations and be willing to learn from the world around you. Always remember, the world may throw you pain, injustice, and unhappiness, but you are the one who steers your own soul, and that is the opportunity for you to wash away all the seeds of resentment, lies, and arrogance that are trying to flare up in your life. Finally, rule number 12, keep yourself grateful, even through the pain. Suffering in life is inevitable. Your career dreams are shattered, an accident, illness leaves you with unwanted ruins, your loved ones suddenly pass away, etc. But suffering comes not to beat you up so that you can't bear it and end your life, because if that were the case, humans would no longer exist. Suffering comes to force us to pay attention to what really matters in our lives. It is the opportunity to learn from our hurts and cultivate compassion and inner strength. This is probably the most difficult thing for each of us in this life, and if we can do it, then it will be the greatest success in a person's life, and it will only happen when you can reach the emotional state of gratitude while immersed in the storm. Not to ease the pain you are facing, but gratitude. It will be able to help you wake up from what you are suffering. The famous American writer, Melody Beattie, once wrote that gratitude transforms our attention from what we lack to what we have, and often transforms suffering into unexpected gifts. The death of a loved one takes a long time to ease the pain when we remember, but in that pain, you are imbued with gratitude for life when it lets you understand you need to cherish those who are still around, and even your own body. In the midst of worries, and it's hard when your little ones are sick all the time, if you understand that they are not that fragile, and will not bring you the precious innocence, mischief, and joy, you may gently accept and enjoy it. In this limited time, I wish you to always maintain gratitude in the face of all adversities in life. Thank you for listening to the end. If you find this video useful, please leave your share in the comments below. And don't forget to give me a like button. Hello, and see you in the next videos. And please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on more valuable content.